Michael Schumacher wasn't just F1's most successful driver. He rewrote the rulebook and what was possible in a race car. Whether he was hunting down rivals in the rain, pulling off impossible passes, or turning damaged cars into podium finishes, Schumacher showed why he was different. So here are his 22 most incredible drives. Michael Schumacher's drive at the rain-soaked 1995 Belgium Grand Prix was pure brilliance. In conditions that had most drivers just trying to survive, he showed exactly why he was becoming F1's most feared racer. Starting way back in 16th, he carved through the field like they were standing still, hunting down championship rival Damon Hill and snatching the lead with an outrageous move.
Hill goes down the inside. Oh, they're side by side still. Schumacher takes Hill right over to the curb in his efforts to stay in front.
While others tiptoed around, Michael was in his element. As the track started drying, Schumacher rolled the dice, stayed out on slicks while Hill dove for the pits. Then the rain came back with a vengeance. After his own stop, Michael emerged ahead, and what followed was intense. A controversial battle as Hill tried everything to get past.
Schumacher blocks him again. This is defensive driving by Schumacher. He's blocking, but he's not changing his line in the braking zones. So fair play to him.
Sure, his aggressive defense earned him a suspended ban, but Schumacher wasn't bothered. He crossed the line 20 seconds clear of the field, turning a back of the grid start into a masterclass in changing conditions. This was trademark Schumacher. That absolute refusal to accept defeat, that ability to find speed where none existed, that ruthless will to win no matter what. Belgium 95 wasn't just a victory, it was Michael showing why he was different, why he was special.
Quite a remarkable drive from Michael Schumacher when you think that he started from 16th on the grid after what must have seemed a simply appalling qualifying session, as indeed it was. But he's kept his head, he's been calm, he didn't come into the pits for wets when some rain came.
In Michael Schumacher's final race before his first retirement, he qualified a dismal 10th, but you can never count out the maestro. With 4 laps left, he's reeling in Häkkinen for 4th. The McLaren looks like it's standing still as Schumacher blasts up behind him. Lap 70, he's all over Kimi's gearbox. The Finn knows he's a sitting duck on the straights. Into turn 1, Kimi boldly stays on the racing line, forcing Schumacher to go the long way round. Michael bides his time, waiting for his moment. The next time by, he pounces. An audacious dive up the inside, millimeters from Häkkinen's side pod and the pit wall. They enter the corner side by side, neither giving an inch.
He's racing with Häkkinen, who's trying to block him into turn 1. Schumacher's having none of it. They're side by side. Don't collide, guys. Please don't collide. Häkkinen gives him room. Schumacher is through.
On the exit, his Ferrari powers ahead. Schumacher takes 4th in an overtake that showcases his racing IQ and grit, the qualities that made him a 7-time champion. Schumacher's qualifying lap at Monaco 2012 was just insane. Everyone had pretty much counted him out, but the German showed up and absolutely nailed it when it counted. He was literally inches from the walls, dancing that Mercedes through the corners like it was nothing. The onboard footage is wild, working that steering wheel like crazy, making split-second adjustments you'd miss if you blinked. His footwork was next level, perfectly controlling the throttle to keep the back end in check. Near the end of the lap, he threw his crazy flick with the wheel, the car visibly pivoting around. Didn't even think about lifting off the throttle, just trusted his skills. Then he absolutely sent it through the swimming pool section and boom, fastest time. The place just went nuts, everyone on their feet for an absolutely epic lap from one of the greatest ever. Sure, the penalty later was a total buzzkill, but that lap, prime Schumacher qualifying, showing everyone he still had that special something.
What a little start. Pole position. Well done, Michael. Fantastic.
Schumacher's mastery of the 97 Monaco GP was mind-blowing. In brutal conditions, he showed exactly why he'd become a 7-time champion. The rain was hammering down, but Schumacher's Ferrari was unstoppable. He blasted into the lead from P2, building an insane 22-second gap by lap 5. While others crept around the slick street, Michael was in another dimension, finding grip that shouldn't have existed. The track turned into pure chaos, with cars sliding off everywhere, but Schumacher never missed a beat. His rain mastery rivaled legends like Senna and Prost. The The gap to Barrichello in P2 grew to an incredible 30 seconds. On lap 53, he had this wild moment, sliding straight at Saint Devot, but his incredible car control saved it, gathering up the Ferrari without losing the lead. The race ended after just 62 of 78 laps, hitting the time limit. Perfect finish to an epic drive, the Rainmaster doing what he did best.
Michael Schumacher and Ferrari, a quite incredible achievement, which puts them ahead of the rest for the first time for a long time. A great day at Monaco.
Spain 94 showed peak Schumacher brilliance, and being stuck in 5th gear wasn't any big deal for him. He pitted from the lead, everyone thinking his race was done. Then he pulled off the impossible, got the car moving and back into the race.
Now looking at the trace there, we can see that Schumacher is in 5th gear the whole time, and now watch that speed drop, the revs are dropping right down. That looks exactly as if Schumacher is in fact stuck in 5th gear, which would account for his performance.
What followed was just incredible. Schumacher wrestled that Benetton around Catalonia, working the throttle like crazy to keep the revs up. The slow corners were brutal, pure footwork magic just to keep the car running. Somehow, he was still faster than everyone except Hill. They battled it out for the lead, Schumacher's broken car incredibly keeping pace lap after lap. Hill got the win, but everyone knew the real story. When most would have parked it, Michael pulled off a miracle podium. Pure genius.
To drive as he is in 2nd place, virtually challenging for the lead, is absolutely outstanding.
Yes, I am struck dumb in admiration of the German because it's an incredible performance.
Malaysia 99 was classic Schumacher. Fresh from a leg-shattering crash at Silverstone, he was back and ready to prove a point. Sepang was brand new territory, but Michael owned it instantly. From first practice, he was in a different league entirely. The onboard footage said it all, faster through every corner, pushing that Ferrari to the absolute limit. While others played it safe, Schumacher attacked, braking impossibly late and nailing the throttle early. Qualifying nearly a second up on Irvine, his own teammate. In F1, that's not just quick, that's on a whole other level.
Seems bumpy on the way in, most of the drivers fighting the car. Take a late apex, use the curve on the right hand side, minimise the angle, over the grid hatchings, across the start line, great lap.
The whole paddock was stunned. With a broken leg barely healed, it was just unreal. But that was Schumacher. Give him any car, any condition, he'd find those extra tenths. Schumacher's 2004 season was total domination. Nobody came close. He just crushed it week after week. The Ferrari was fast, but Michael's driving took it to another level. His qualifying laps were perfect, taking pole after pole by crazy margins. On race days, he showed pure control, leading from the front with perfect precision. He grabbed 13 wins, a record that stuck for years. The championship was his with 4 races left. Everything after was just victory laps. And the crazy part, he never eased up. Even after securing the title, just kept pushing, kept extending the gap, completely relentless. His teammate Barrichello was no slouch, but Schumacher was just operating on another planet, often a full second per lap quicker. Rubens managed 2 wins and 2nd place overall, but Michael was just untouchable.
Now he takes an unprecedented 7th world title at the team's 700th Grand Prix.
Schumacher's F1 debut at Spa 91 was something else. That weekend marked the arrival of a legend, even if it ended early. In his first F1 qualifying, he put that Jordan in 7th, outqualified his experienced teammate De Cesaris by almost 8 tenths, in a car he barely knew at a track he'd never seen. Spa wasn't kind to rookies. Its high-speed corners and weird weather chewed them up, but Michael drove it like he'd been racing there for years, finding speed nobody expected. The race ended almost instantly with a clutch failure, but those few laps were enough. The paddock knew something special had just arrived in F1. Benetton signed him immediately, and the rest is racing history.
You must be very happy with your results.
Yeah, sure, I'm really happy. The car feels really good and it makes a lot of fun to drive, and also for the time, I'm really happy. Yeah.
Now, the track was soaked, and Schumacher was sitting 3rd behind Mansell and Senna. These were F1's biggest names, but Michael wasn't intimidated. He held steady in 3rd until lap 30, when a slight off-track moment sparked an idea: time for slicks. The call was brilliant. Fresh dry tyres on, Schumacher started flying. He jumped Mansell and just kept getting faster. Mansell realised too late By the time he pitted for slicks, Schumacher was gone. The gap just kept growing, ending at an incredible 36 seconds. First GP win in those conditions against that competition at Spa, just ridiculous. The Schumacher era had officially begun.
And he held on to claim the first of his 91 career victories at the very track on which he'd made his Grand Prix debut just 1 year before.
Now, Schumacher's move on Montoya at Australia 02 was pure racing art. The Melbourne master showing why he owned this track. They'd been battling for the lead forever. Montoya's Williams was quick, his defensive racing was perfect. The Ferrari had straight line speed, but JPM's late braking kept holding him back. Schumacher stayed patient, watching, waiting. Lap 16, he spotted his chance. Coming out of turn 3, Montoya had a tiny wobble. Schumacher struck instantly, pulling alongside toward turn 4. They went in side by side. Schumacher braking impossibly late on the outside, and by the apex, the Ferrari was ahead. Montoya tried fighting back, but it was done. Perfect racing move, perfect execution.
Schumacher right under the gearbox of Montoya as they come down to turn 1. He goes to the outside line. Montoya blocks. He takes a tighter line on the exit. Michael Schumacher is alongside him. Side by side out of turn 2. And Schumacher is through into the lead.
Imola 06 showed Schumacher still had it. Grabbed pole, his 66, passing Senna's record, and looked set to dominate. Clean start, but early drama brought out the safety car. Once that cleared, Michael started building a gap to Button and Alonso. The old master was flying. Then the tyres started giving up. Suddenly, Alonso was right there, hunting him down.
Well, Alonso's a racer, and there's nothing he likes more than beating Michael Schumacher. He's said it on many occasions. And will he find a way through?
What followed was intense. Lap after lap of perfect defence from Schumacher. Alonso had one shot after the final stops, but couldn't make it stick.
Alonso losing the back end again in Acqua Minerale, and I suspect that could be game, set and match for Michael Schumacher now.
Michael held on for his first win of 06, hard fought and perfectly executed.
He was so much faster than Michael Schumacher. He had plenty of fuel in the car to go further than him. Schumacher was very, very slow. They were getting backed up towards the rest of the field. And Michael Schumacher has done it on home soil for Ferrari.
Monza 03 was Schumacher at his absolute peak. He snatched pole from Montoya by the tiniest margin, just 0.051 seconds. Ferrari's 13th pole at their home track, and they weren't done yet. The start was chaos. Trulli's Renault stalled on the grid, cars dodging everywhere, safety car out. But once they got racing again, Schumacher just checked out. That Ferrari F2003 GA was like it was on rails, and Michael was extracting every bit of performance from it. Lap after lap, he kept building the gap. A second here, a second there. The pit stops came and went, but nothing changed. Schumacher was in total control. Even dealing with traffic looked effortless, threading through back markers like they were standing still. By the end, he crossed the line 5.2 seconds clear of Montoya. Barrichello another 6 seconds back. His 50th win for Ferrari, 4th at Monza, breaking records while making it look easy. The pace was record-breaking, averaging 247.585 kilometers per hour, fastest anyone had ever gone around Monza. The Tifosi went absolutely wild.
Just listen then to the crowd as Michael Schumacher comes out of the Parabolica. Yes! Michael Schumacher wins at Monza, the 4th time he has won here in a Ferrari, and it's his 50th victory for the Italian mark, and what an important one.
The pass on Häkkinen at Monza 98 was peak Schumacher opportunism. Mika had been cruising out front after Coulthard's engine went up in smoke, but that smoke would change everything. Coulthard's blown engine left oil right at the Roggia chicane. Häkkinen hit it first, the McLaren getting seriously loose. That's all Schumacher needed. He was right there, ready to pounce. The Ferrari took a tighter line through the chicane, getting better drive out. As they blasted towards Lesmos, Schumacher edged ahead. Häkkinen tried fighting back around the outside, but Michael wasn't having any of it. Forced him wide, made him lift, done deal. Classic Schumacher move, aggressive but fair, spotting the chance and grabbing it with both hands. He disappeared after that, bringing Irvine home for a Ferrari 1-2 while Häkkinen struggled to 4th with brake issues. The championship was suddenly tied with 2 races left. game on. Spain 96 was the day Schumacher truly earned that Rainmaster nickname. Catalonia was straight up underwater, visibility was trash, and most drivers were just trying to keep it on the track. Schumacher saw it differently. This was his chance to show what he could really do. Starting third in a Ferrari that wasn't even close to the best car that year and actually dropped back at the start with some clutch issues. That's when the show really began. That Ferrari was dancing through corners, setting outrageous lap times. 3 seconds faster than anyone else in a car that was struggling to match the top teams even in perfect conditions. The gap just kept growing and growing. 5 seconds became 10, then 20, and by the end of it, he lapped everyone up to third place and finished a mind-blowing 45 seconds ahead of second. In the rain, with that Ferrari, it wasn't just winning, it was destroying the field. This wasn't just about getting his first Ferrari win, this was Schumacher showing exactly why he was different. Not just faster or better, but basically playing a different sport entirely. The kind of drive that made the whole paddock just shake their heads in disbelief. People talk about legendary wet weather drives, Senna at Donington, Lewis at Turkey, but this one belongs right up there with the best. Total mastery in impossible conditions.
Michael Schumacher wins the Spanish Grand Prix after an absolutely superlative drive to give himself 10 World Championship points.
Hungary 98 was when Schumacher and Ferrari completely flipped the F1 script. Sitting third behind both McLarens, they needed something wild. Ross Brawn pulled out the crazy card, 3 stops instead of the normal 2. This meant Schumacher had to drive like a man possessed. Every single lap at qualifying pace, one tiny lockup, one slide, one mistake, and the whole plan would fall apart. But this was Schumacher in his absolute prime. The execution was perfect. Lap after lap of purple pace, the Ferrari right on the limit. While Häkkinen was cruising out front, thinking he had it under control, Schumacher was slowly reeling him in. After that second stop, somehow incredibly, Michael emerged in the lead. The final stint was Schumi at his very best, blistering speed with laser precision. He crossed the line 9 seconds clear of Coulthard, turning what seemed like an impossible strategy into a masterpiece. This was Schumacher and Ferrari showing everyone a whole new way to race.
You have seen, we have seen a magnificent Hungarian Grand Prix, which is won by Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari to the ecstatic delight of thousands of Germans who are here.
The ring in 95 showed Schumacher at his most ruthless. The track was like ice, but while others were just trying to survive, Michael was hunting. 2 laps left and Alesi's Ferrari was in his sights. Alesi had played it perfectly, gambled on slicks from the start and built his massive 45-second lead. But Schumacher was coming, fresh tyres from his 3-stop strategy, closing in fast through the traffic. With 2 to go, he went for it. Somehow found space on the outside of the chicane, cars almost touching, just muscled his way through. The crowd couldn't believe it. He pulled away to win by 2.6 seconds, but that pass was the moment. Pure Schumacher showing exactly why he was becoming F1's most feared driver.
Yes! Michael Schumacher takes the lead in the Grand Prix of Europe and the Benetton team go berserk with delight.
Magny-Cours 02 wasn't just another race. This was history in play. Schumacher just needed a single point to match Fangio's legendary 5 titles. But Michael being Michael, he wasn't about to cruise around for a point. Starting from second, he kept Montoya's Williams honest until the Colombian's challenge faded away. Then the real fight started. Raikkonen's McLaren out front, looking untouchable, but the young Finn cracked under pressure. Just a tiny mistake running wide onto the curb. That's all Schumacher needed. Squeezed that Ferrari through a gap that barely existed and just disappeared. From there, it was immaculate. Perfect corner after perfect corner, building that lead with machine-like precision. When he took that checkered flag, he wasn't just winning another race, he was joining the immortals. 5 world titles, matching what Fangio did 45 years earlier. This wasn't just Schumacher being brilliant again, this was Schumacher becoming a proper legend.
Wins the French Grand Prix to claim his 5th world title, equaling the record of legendary Argentinian Juan Manuel Fangio.
Now starting third, Schumacher timed it perfectly. Both cars hit the pits together, but the Benetton crew was absolutely flawless. Michael just launched out of that pit lane, no speed limits back then, and suddenly Senna was looking at the back of the Benetton. From there, it was like Schumacher was in a different race. Every lap was qualifying pace, while Senna was pushing like crazy trying to catch up. The pressure was too much. Even the great Senna spun trying to match the young German's pace. By the time it was over, Schumacher had lapped everyone except second place. This wasn't just some random win, this was the moment everything changed. The master Senna had been beaten by F1's new force, and everyone knew the Schumacher era was starting.
Michael Schumacher para fazer a sua festa em Interlagos. Vitória da Benetton. Michael Schumacher da Alemanha.
7 laps in, track still slick from the rain, Schumacher went for it. Pulled alongside Coulthard's McLaren on the outside of that massive straight. Wheels touch as they fought for position into turn 1, but Schumacher wasn't giving an inch. The Ferrari just bulldozed through, taking the lead in pure Schumacher style. Aggressive but perfectly calculated, leaving just enough room to avoid disaster, but not an inch more. Once he got past, that was it. Just disappeared into the distance, dominated the rest of the race, and grabbed back the championship lead. This wasn't just another pass, this was Schumacher showing America exactly how F1's top dog handled business.
The toe that Michael Schumacher's got this side. Coulthard goes to cover the line. Schumacher goes down the outside, and they just about touch. And once again, they're so close.
Yes! Fantastic!
While everyone else was fighting to just keep their cars on track at F1's toughest circuit, Schumacher was in another world. That Ferrari was dancing through every corner, literally millimeters from the barriers, finding speed that shouldn't have existed in that car. His final lap was just incredible. Put half a second on Hill's Williams, which around Monaco might as well have been a lifetime.
Oh, will it be an improvement? Yes, it is! Schumacher by over half a second. Look at Jean Todd's face. He is delirious.
Sure, there was drama afterward. Got in Berger's way on the slow down lap, gave everyone a heart attack when the Austrian spun at the chicane, but that qualifying lap, no one could touch it. This wasn't just about being fast, this was Schumacher making that Ferrari do things it had no business doing. He wasn't just beating the other drivers that day, he was crushing their spirits. A double world champion showing exactly why he'd earned those titles on the streets where legends are made. 21 years. That's how long Ferrari had been waiting for this moment, and Schumacher wasn't about to let it slip away, even after Häkkinen snatched the lead at the start. For 31 laps straight, he was glued to that McLaren's gearbox, closing in bit by bit. Then came the genius move. Ferrari's perfect strategy combined with Schumacher just unleashing pure speed in that middle stint. When he came out of that final pit stop in front, you could feel the history being made. The rain tried to throw a wrench in the works near the end, turning the track into a lottery, but Schumacher wasn't having it. This was his moment, his destiny. When he crossed that line 1.8 seconds ahead of Häkkinen, he hadn't just won the race, he'd ended Ferrari's massive championship drought. The podium was pure emotion, tears flowing while the track disappeared under a sea of Ferrari red. Michael Schumacher had done what seemed impossible, what legends before him couldn't do. He was champion in Ferrari red. The Tifosi had their hero.
There was such an outbreak of emotion initially when I crossed the line. I mean, this conditions were difficult today. The rain, no rain, little bit more. The upgoing, the downgoing through the season, and then finally achieve it with a victory.
From his debut at Spa to his final Ferrari triumph, Schumacher pushed the boundaries of what seemed possible in Formula 1. These drives weren't just victories, they were masterclasses in racing brilliance, showcasing the combination of raw speed, tactical genius, and relentless determination that made Michael Schumacher simply untouchable.